Hogstye.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogside. Steve couldn't do his hand gestures because he was drinking a sip of water and he was distracted, and I win.
I'm doing them now.
He's doing them now, but I won. I won finally.
You didn't win. No, you didn't.
How are you guys doing today?
Oh, fantastic. I'm doing wonderful.
That's Dave, of course. Steve, how are you?
Let me tell you about my problems. It's just been awful. No, it's way to bring down the show. No, all is well down here in Tejas.
Well, let me tell you about my problems, because I need help solving
please.
them.
Okay.
So I've been doing this crazy event the last few days at work. I won't go into the details because I don't know if any of it's none of it should be sensitive, but you know how the government is. It's for an outside group. I was doing this meeting, and one of the guys saw I have a free commander's lanyard that I use for my ID, and he's like, "Hey, you like the team?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm from here, so it's the local team. I root for the local." I understate, my fandom. I don't want to be a weirdo.
I have this I've had this website for 10 years.
Yes, you don't open with that necessarily. That's a
like, you want to see my
thing.
burgundy and gold drawers?
Yeah. So last day though, he comes in, he hands me a bag, and apparently, I guess he works at the stadium during the games because he had a bag with all the merch they gave to guys like Dave, the season ticket holder merch. So I got. Now I already have one of these, but I got another one of the little commander scarves that they had.
Sorry,
I got the flag that they gave away with the stupid logo on it, pins, beer koozies. I don't know who uses a beer koozie. I don't really use a beer koozie. But the thing they gave me that I do like, these coasters that are like a 3D print of the stadium inside. That's kind of neat. So,
but you tell him next time he gives you away free stuff, it needs to be RFK Stadium, not FedEx Field.
Believe me, if someone gave me an RFK Stadium thing of that,
you heard me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the C words field, so it's FedEx Field.
No, there's a big discussion that's got to happen about, like, what do we call this stupid stadium?
Well, they'll have a new name sponsor, presumably.
Eventually. But, until they do, I don't want to call it Commander Stadium. That's
I'm not
awful.
calling him that. I don't use that word, so.
No. It's offensive to a lot of people. You shouldn't use it.
It's offensive to me.
Yeah.
Personally.
That's what I'm saying.
Trust me, it's 100% offensive to me, but I've learned to come to grips with it, and I use it. I just move forward with it. I wash my mouth out with soap at the time, but hey, I just keep on going.
You're obviously not as stubborn as I am.
No.
It's not that I'm stubborn, because trust me, I still won't tie the old with the new in terms of the history. I still refuse to do that in many people's eyes. I still look at this team having no championships, no Super Bowls. All that people hate it when I do that, but it's just I'm just moving forward the best I can. That's all.
Steve Thomas, proudly uncompromising for decades.
Yeah, Steve. There are bricks of titanium less stubborn than you. I think that's the most stubborn of metals, right? I don't know.
It's certainly one of them.
well,
it's up there.
Well, yeah, adamantium.
Well, yes, if we're going, sci-fi route, sure.
Nerd. That's a sci-fi thing.
That'd be Wolverine, my friend.
Yes.
Wolverine. Oh my
Marvel
God, you're bringing up superhero movies. I'm banning superhero talk on this show. Okay. Can I do that?
I think you're outvoted by Dave and I.
Yes.
I get 2 votes on superhero stuff. We're not talking about it.
And it's a 50-50 split.
And I win. 50-50, I win.
Well, I just got done completing the fan poll. We got 85% in our favor.
Yeah, there you go.
So, do you think I care what the fans think?
That much has been obvious for a while.
Yes.
But yes, moral of the story, I'll always take bribes. I'm a government contractor. I can take bribes, guys.
He needs the money. He gets paid by the federal government.
I do. And the money they think they pay me, like 3/4 goes to, other people. So that's the way contracting
Welcome
works.
to life. That's all of us.
Yeah, right. All right. So speaking of the government, why don't we start with the federal government-ish news about the team? obviously, the RFK Stadium bill passed the House last month. I don't remember exactly when, but it was last month. It is being discussed in the Senate right now, and there's a holdup because Senator Steve Daines of Montana is saying he won't vote in favor of the bill, and he'll try and hold it up in committee unless the team, the Washington Commanders, are willing to discuss with the family of Chief Whitey Wiesel, who is the person who designed the old logo from the 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s and so on. If he feels like that logo needs to be honored by the team, and he wants them to discuss it, the team with Chief Whitey Wiesel's family. Obviously, he's no longer with us. He was an old man when he took the photo that they used, and I believe that would have been in the 60s that they did that initial photo. So it's like his grandson is involved. The team put out a statement saying they have started having discussions with that family about how to maybe honor them and honor that part of their past. It could be a little bit of a sticky wicket because what the senator says he wants is very amorphous and ambiguous. Like, he says he doesn't want the name back, but he likes the logo and he feels like the logo should be brought back in some way. That's about as specific as he gets.
How do you bring the logo back but not the name? I mean, I don't know really if I understand what he wants. You know, the logo. Is he talking about the Indian head?
Yes, the Indian
logo?
head logo.
I mean, I don't know how you bring that back with no context.
And let's be clear, the last Indian head logo, because they had two others prior to that.
Right. Yeah.
The
one that was the very detailed.
The awesome one. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, from the Blackfeet tribe. Yes.
Right. Now, I'll say this as a graphic design guy, I've always said it's one of the best logos ever made in sports in terms of detail and just aesthetic and all that kind of stuff. It's a fantastic logo. Always has been.
So I definitely applaud the efforts of someone to try to get this franchise to actually acknowledge the past, and anything that conjures up memories of Redskins makes me happy. However, this is a stupid reason for a politician to uphold a bill that authorizes land use. If you strictly from a political perspective, if the federal government can do something that authorizes a local government to use land,
right,
you're going to hold it up for a sports logo? That's stupid.
Well, and here's where
he's not really going to do this, though. He's just making a point, by the way.
Yes, I agree. But here's where I kind of find it unusual. And Steve, you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong because you come from the conservative side. I come obviously from the more liberal, progressive side. The land use bill doesn't technically say the Redskins or Commanders get a stadium.
No. It authorizes the District of Columbia to use that land for a variety of things, including a stadium, if they choose to fund it themselves.
It seems a bit weird to be like, well, I'm not going to give this party this thing unless a third party does something else.
He's just making a point. He doesn't.
I know he is, but like from a Republicans are all about not intervening with private businesses.
Well, no, see, true conservatives are about that.
Right.
There's a difference between a true political conservative and a partisan Republican at the federal level.
Yes, there's a huge gap, just like there is with progressives and Democrats these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think this guy means any of this. He just is making a point, and that's it.
Yeah. He's trying to get some easy hay and get his name in the headlines. I get it.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what politicians all want to do.
And again, I think it's a ridiculous reason to hold up a bill. If he was actually going to hold up a bill for that, that's just ridiculous.
Right. Well, and we'll see if he's willing to actually, stick to, because the team could say, hey, we're having these discussions. Is that good enough? I don't know.
I mean, he could make an amendment to the Senate version of the bill that says something along the lines of, if the Washington franchise, if the District of Columbia chooses to build a stadium and the Washington franchise inhabits it, then they must use the old logo. I mean, you could throw something in there and then see if that, because then the House would have to re-vote on it, in committee. So
now my thing has always been, I've always felt like, look, I understand we moved on from the name. If they wanted to do a throwback, and I mean a real throwback. The real original Redskins uniform didn't say Redskins on it at all. It was, there was nothing on the chest that said, there was nothing anywhere that said the name. You could do a throwback to that old 80s look, and it's technically, if the word's not there,
they're not doing that.
I know they won't, but like that could be the compromise in theory. That you occasionally bring out that as a throwback, and there you go.
But I don't think the guy really cares about that.
No, I don't think he does either.
Yeah, it's if he's got some familial connection to the family or whatever, I mean, he's just making a point.
Yeah, well, now the one thing he did say is he would like to see some kind of financial thing go to the Blackfeet tribe from the team. So
I mean, if I were the owner, if I were who's the freaking owner of this team, Josh Harris?
Yeah,
I would tell him to go jump in a lake. The name is gone.
Mm-hmm.
They owe the Blackfeet tribe nothing. They're using another stupid name now.
Right.
I mean, we don't owe them anything.
Right.
I would say absolutely not.
I mean, they could say, well, we give money now to the military because of the stupid name we were forced to take. So there's our donations to people. Whatever.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I think, whether he was genuine in what he was saying or not, I'm more likely probably just doing, like you said, Steve, just to kind of, just to stir up a little something out there. But I mean, he is speaking for his constituents out there, and they have voiced their opinions about that. I mean, has been kind of stated, even at Native American, at NAGA, I think it's called, has even had interviews with the with Wenzel's grandson, I think it is.
Yeah, about live still.
Yeah, and they've gotten feedback from the tribes out there and so forth talking about it. But I mean, regardless of the senator's position, the one thing that it does do, and the one thing that it could maybe move the needle for, is that if there is enough push and enough steam, I guess, or momentum in terms of using the logo again, maybe it won't go to the Redskins. We'll never go back that again. I don't ever expect that. But it kind of brings the name Warriors back into the fold again, because it is after one of their famous Blackfeet Tribe warriors, Chief Two Guns Whitecalf. So, I mean, he was a renowned warrior for them back in that, or in terms of, he wasn't a warrior, but he represented that aspect of that tribe like that. So there could be some momentum of giving them we could do this to change the name. We can use this logo again, maybe on, and the only way you could use that logo again is if you have some sort of tie, financial or not, however tie you need to have a tie with that Native American group into this organization one way or another. I'm not saying financial ties, because that's the only way you're going to get like the Mike Florios of the world off your back, if you have not just the support of these tribes, but to have some sort of representation there to help push it, to help favor it, to help whatever. That's just, to me, it kind of opens the door. Will it get there? Probably not.
I think it's cute that you actually believe that. That you've talked yourself into that.
I think it's cute that you think there's anything they could do to ever get Mike Florio to say a nice thing about this team.
I just said back off, not say anything nice.
I think if the team came up with a cure for AIDS and cancer in the same week, Mike Florio would still find something to complain about.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Because he was complainer number one about the Dan Quinn t-shirt, speaking of this whole kind of trying to embrace the past and respect your past while moving forward. Because Dan Quinn wears one, knockoff t-shirt that has the Redskins feathers on the W from the current logo. And you would have thought that the world burned down.
Yeah.
That was officially ridiculous how people overreacted to that Dan Quinn t-shirt situation.
Can I say it slowly for the people in the back? Can I say it slowly for the people in the back? The t-shirt means absolutely nothing. Even if the team officially put that out, which they may or may not have.
They did not.
The rumor was that Dan Quinn just did that himself, which is cool. I respect it. The owner is not changing the name of this team. Period.
Not to Redskins, that's for sure.
They're not changing it to anything. Okay? They are not. I wrote a column on this. They're not changing the name. The owner clearly is of the belief that the fans will come along, particularly the younger generation. As stupid a name as it is, the fans will come along if they just start winning. And he's not. They have given absolutely no indication that they're interested in changing the name. No reporter has reported any interest at all. Our buddy Rick Snyder made a video about it that I watched. There is no indication that they want to change the name. What they want to do is hook the 20 somethings and younger onto the team. So us old farts, here, Alex, you're a little younger than us, but I mean, they don't care
I've got
about
the
us.
4-0 now. I'm in the old fart category for
Okay,
that.
they don't care about us. They want to get the younger people involved, and the younger people do
Right.
not hate Commanders like we do. There is no the name is not changing. I hate to say it, but that's what I
I mean,
think.
the younger people don't care. That's the
But
real
if they
issue.
just start
Oh,
winning, they
right.
will care. That's the
Right.
belief.
That's because, the younger people, they have Redskins synonymous with losing anyway. So it's like there's no
That's
tie
true.
with them on that. There's no emotional tie. There's no any kind of success or championships or anything with the name Redskins, unlike with Steve and I on that. That's why, yes, Steve, I do hold a glimmer of hope that something will happen, but I
You
do
should
agree
not.
with you. It's not going to happen. I'm not sitting there banking on it. I'm not praying every night that
Mhm.
like I wake up in the morning and boom, we're now the Warriors or something like that. I know it's not going to happen, but it's
Whatever
still,
gets you through the night, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm
hey
fine
man,
with. Now,
So
do we
hey,
know for sure that T-shirt was a Dan Quinn invention? Did that
it was,
some?
he didn't invent it. He was just wearing it. I'm
I know,
sure
but
he just
but that was not an official team
no. It
thing.
was
no, it wasn't official team, no.
no. It's an official knockoff, is what it is.
I respect. He probably didn't even think to put 2 seconds of thought into it, but
Well, it
it
sounds
was
like he
pretty
put 2
bold.
seconds of thought, but his thought was, I want to show people, especially like the former players, that we're going to honor the past as well as move forward. Like that was his thinking. Which
And I hope if that's the truth, I hope that's the truth.
I think, I mean, I've always said that's the right way to go. I'm not a fan of the NFL rewriting everything on their website. Oh, the Commanders won the Super Bowl in 1983. No, that was the Redskins.
The Redskins did
Yes.
it. And if I were a
It's
former player, I'd be offended.
yeah. I am a-okay with saying historically they were the Redskins up until this year. You use the word Redskins in the correct context of who they
Right.
were. That you're not doing anything wrong. Like that. Even as somebody who's always accepted that the name was going to change, you can still respect the past for what it was
Now,
there.
let me ask you guys something though. Are there fans out there that actually believe that shirt means something?
There definitely were.
Like the Twitter Illuminati?
Yes.
I call them the Twitter two-digiters is who they are.
Is that IQ
Yeah, IQ points.
Is that-
The guys who might have been Forrest Gump contemporaries definitely thought something was happening.
Well, there I felt I figured that. That's why I
Yeah.
had a whole nother column ready, and I dumped it to, tell everybody the name is not changing. It just
No.
doesn't mean anything.
No, it was ridiculous. I mean, I sent it to you. I was just like, hey, this is cool. And you were like, it means nothing. That was
Yeah.
your very first tweet or text back.
All I know is that T-shirt gave me an idea for my future T-shirts. I get made up by somebody.
Oh yeah.
So, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna incorporate that. And so, instead of buying a bunch of jerseys, I'll be doing the whole names in the back. But I got somebody who will make the jersey, or not jersey, T-shirts at a dry fit with that whole deal for me. So,
Nice.
If you just
I'm gonna
heard a
have to
weird
incorporate that.
commercial playing, my iPad volume was up, and I didn't know I had the TV.
I was
on.
wondering what that was.
It was my fault.
Okay, I thought I heard like a car screech almost.
I don't know what it was, but it was, again, I was like watching TV on the iPad eating dinner 20 minutes
Right.
ago, and I'm obviously, somehow it came on its own,
Ah,
which is
it's just spying on you. It's okay.
it's why I don't like Apple. I have this. I don't even know why I have it, to be honest. I need to get a Samsung tablet, but
If you want one that doesn't work, sure. Like
I
That's
don't
the-
like Apple. I have it just
I
in
know you
case
don't
I
like
need
Apple.
compatibility with something that's kind of why.
But I'm just saying, like, the non-Apple tablets generally are all garbage. Like that, if you want a tablet, like I have a Amazon Kindle Fire, whatever it's called.
I
It's
have one of those
$50.
too.
It barely functions.
I read a lot of books on it.
Yeah, but
That's what I think it's useful for.
yeah.
Anyway, so I say all that to say I apologize for the weird intrusion
Yes.
there.
That's a abrupt segue out of the T-shirt discussion.
That was
Dave,
that
if
was
you
the iPad.
if you don't know a guy who make graphics, you know a guy who make graphics.
It was a weird way of saying we're done with this topic.
Yes.
Somebody
Yeah.
was.
All right, let's move on. We did talk about the Tressway number thing last show. He did give his number over to Jaden Daniels. Everyone can calm down. He did a very nice, touching. And you wouldn't think that a guy would get emotional just talking about giving up his jersey number, but he did a thing with Santana Moss talking about how much it really was a hard decision for him, which was kind of wild. Because he felt like when he took that number on, it was when he kind of found his place in the league, that kind of stuff. And, I'm not going to judge a guy for getting choked up about something like that. And by the way, I looked it up. At the end of this season, Tressway will now be a top 10 Redskin / Commander in terms of tenure with the team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he will have cracked the top 10 in terms of games played with this team.
I, for my part, don't think I would get hooked on any one number because I don't care about things like that.
No.
Personally. I understand what Tress's point is, and I did see that little video, actually, Alex, now that I think about it. I didn't know that was the only one. I did see that. And he did get choked up over it, which to my world is weird, but I get it. If and Tress is a super nice. We had him on twice, I think. We had him on once, and then we interviewed him at training camp one time too. Yeah, he's a super guy, really nice guy. And if it meant that much to him, maybe he should have kept it and told Jaden Daniels to go pick another number. I don't know. But his point in the little Santana Moss thing I saw was he thought he was doing something for the betterment of the team, and he was trying to be a team player basically because he's giving it up to the star quarterback and trying to be a good guy, which he is a good guy.
And he is the longest tenured player. He's a team captain, and is about to hit his 5th year, which he mentioned that video is a big deal to him, getting that 5th year team captain thing.
I guess he said that the C gets filled in.
Yeah,
I didn't know
so
that.
You wouldn't notice, but when guys get the team captain patch, it starts out with all the stars are transparent, and then every year one gets filled in.
Oh.
Until you hit year 5, and then the C gets filled in.
Oh, who knew? I didn't know that.
Yes,
I didn't know that either.
Alex, the uniform nerd, knows this.
Yes, it's a little weird military thing they're trying to do, like
Alex knows that I don't notice anything like that.
Yes. Meanwhile, I not only noticed that, I complain about the fact that why does every team have the same captain patch? They should all have a customized one based off of their unique look and team colors, instead of some of them look really weird with like this block seat. But that's just me.
They're all the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention to that myself.
Hopefully Tress got some money out of that number though. That's what I would hope for him.
It sounds like no cash, but it's like he gets Jaden Daniels is going to be paying for a few vacations and things like that.
A few vacations. That could be a lot of money. Is he talking about like a 2-week trip to New Zealand, or is he talking about a weekend to the casino, or what?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what a 2-week trip to New Zealand is going to cost me.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it ain't cheap.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they determined that stuff. It's all TBD. But the only thing they mentioned was he's going to get tickets to an LSU Oklahoma game at some point. When they retire. So, I think he got a good deal. It sounds like.
I'm glad you brought it up because I have my spreadsheet open and I just changed the number before I forget.
Of what? Change.
Because I keep track of player numbers on this thing, and so I changed.
Yeah. So we don't know Tressway's number. He's going to wear.
No, but I deleted 5 and put Daniels down as 5.
He's going to wear different numbers in camp every day.
Yeah, he wore 10, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
RG3s.
Why are players so obsessed with numbers? I don't get it.
I really think it becomes part of your identity, especially in football where people can't see your face. I think that matters to him in a way.
I guess. I don't know. I would just, if it were me, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Give me
So
whatever
when you were
Sony
like
doesn't
growing up,
want.
you never really picked your number. You just took whatever.
I remember I kept the same number, but it was like when I walked in there the first day,
Mm-hmm.
I just went, okay, I'll take that one, and that was it, and I never thought twice about it, and I just kept the same number because I just don't like change.
Yeah. So you don't like change. Like,
But I didn't pick the number for any reason other than it was like
Right.
the first one I saw that was available, basically.
Right. I definitely eventually, like, Little League and all that stuff. I figured out I want this number every year if I
See,
can get it.
I did not ever have that thought.
Well, I
Yeah,
also picked 13. No one wanted 13 because everyone thought it was unlucky.
Oh, just like I fell into number 20. I had 20 my entire time. Even though I tried every time to get the number 28 every single year, but I could never get that number. So,
Mhm.
but that was the only number that ever mattered to me when I played football, and we all know why.
Yes.
I'm
28
not
was
gonna.
always a big deal. Like, it didn't matter the sport. And if
Right.
you grew up in DC, 28 always got taken. Also, 8 for Cal back in the 80s and 90s. Everyone wanted
Right.
to be Cal Ripken. So, yeah.
Dramatically overrated baseball player, Cal Ripken.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
He's overrated. He played many games. That was his claim to fame. He wasn't. His numbers aren't that great, except for his consecutive game streak. Overrated.
And just a ton of all-star appearances and
Well, at some point, the All-Star appearances become, people just get them even when they don't deserve them.
well, that is
Yeah.
true. With all all-star Pro
I'm just
Bowls, that's
saying,
true.
Cal Ripken is overrated. There,
I mean, he was a really good defensive player.
He was
That was about it.
good shortstop.
I mean,
Very good
offensively, he didn't
defensive
do much.
shortstop.
Small clap for Cal Ripken then.
I'm trying to give him something, Steve.
I realize that the Orioles don't have much to root for. Okay, I get it, but
Yeah, they had one World Series run with him. That was it.
I'm a
And-
Dodger fan. There's a ton of people to root for. The Dodgers are a real team.
Well, they're a big market. Yes.
Yeah, but they have a long, 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 long history.
Yes, they do. I mean, if I would say the stuff in New York doesn't count for the LA Dodgers, but that's just me. I think when you move, you lose your history. That's a thing.
Yeah, I don't really count it. I mean, they do count Jackie Robinson.
Sure.
Because
Well, I wouldn't
Robinson's
say
got to go count somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess Koufax was in both, but that
Koufax was in both.
we're getting away from
Yeah, football. Yeah. Sorry.
football. Let's get
I
back
just
to
wanted to make fun of Cal Ripken because it's easy.
yeah.
Plus, I know the audience will hate that, and that makes me happy.
A segment of our audience really hates you at this point. That is
It's
for sure.
okay. Good.
I might be with them. So the team did make a couple moves, minor moves. They did sign a receiver, Dimitri Bird, who we're probably never going to hear about again. This is just a depth move, I think. Shuffling around the roster during OTAs and stuff like that. And they released Jake Fromm because they had 5 quarterbacks, and why would you ever need 5 quarterbacks?
So the only thing I'll say with this is that they have to cut a couple more players.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they've got right now, if my count is right, 92, and that does not include the wide receiver. They signed 1 wide receiver or 2.
I can only find the name of one. I thought it was another, but
so they're going to have to cut 3 more players before training camp to get down to 90. Really, not before training, but before they sign all the rookies, they're going to have to cut a couple people.
Right.
Right now, they can get away with it because the rookies aren't the rookie draft picks aren't signed. They're not technically on the roster. So as soon as they get those people signed, they're going to have to cut a couple more.
Do we have an extra long snapper we can get rid of? I don't know.
No, they already got rid of the extra one actually. No,
Hire
they did
Cheeseman back and fire him again, just for fun.
They had 2 kicker. They had 2. They did have 2 long snapper. Addington, I think his name was. They got rid of him. So, I mean, I gotta figure that they've got like 80 billion defensive linemen on this roster.
Right.
It's got to be at least one of them. They've got a ton of them, and they've got a ton of linebackers and a ton of corners.
Yeah. Don't
So
they have a lot of interior O linemen right now too? Like
Not
compared
really.
to at least the outside.
no, they've got a
Well,
lot of
very- well,
tackles actually.
Yeah.
So they've
Okay.
got 7 true interior linemen, and they've got 8 tackles. If you count Braden Daniels as a tackle. So Nick Allegretti, Tyler, how do you pronounce his name?
I don't know.
Biadasz?
We're going to be talking about the inside
Yeah,
linemen
true.
soon,
We'll
so
get that later.
Yeah.
we'll save that for later.
Yeah, good.
So they did have rookie camp. They're doing OTAs now. Not a whole lot you can really get from this stuff. If you get excited by another slow motion video of a quarterback throwing a 10-yard out route, I don't know.
Without anybody pat rushing him.
Yeah, with no one, it's 7-on-7. Like I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
Yeah, but-
okay, he didn't fall over himself when he threw this pass. Yay! Like,
Yeah,
you're
but
not
he
gonna
was
get a whole
throwing.
lot from these videos.
Yeah, but he
from
was
this.
throwing into nets with these square openings, and he had 3 openings to choose from, and he was hitting every single one of them. I mean,
Well,
that's
hell,
gotta
Hall
tell
of
you.
Fame.
I mean, that gotta tell you he's in the line for like rookie of the year, right? Just right there, right?
I mean,
I mean, it makes sense.
I'm happy he hit them all. Like, I'm not mad about it. But like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. man.
His preseason
Yeah.
odds for offensive rookie of the year are probably pretty good, actually.
Yeah. Oh, well, there was that story that he and the receiver from LSU made some kind of bet about who would get rookie of the year, and they got in trouble for it.
Well, yeah, don't bet. If you're an
yeah.
NFL player, don't bet on things.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Especially just 2 guys making a bet with one another and then just publicizing it.
Or if
Don't
you're
do
going
that.
to do that, make it a friendly bet.
Right.
Or a
A
bet for
gentleman's
lunch
wager
or
of
something.
steaks.
Yes, there you go.
No one cares about steaks, just cash. Yeah. Things sound like they went well at rookie camp. That's all you can say in the end. Like everyone's happy. There was no like cause for concern. When the worst thing that happened was Dan Quinn wearing a weird T-shirt that upset like 3 people, and everyone else, and made like 10 people orgasmic. I don't know what else to tell you. Like this was not a great rookie camp.
Yeah, I didn't get much. I don't think there's much to say about it. You
No.
know, I'm glad Jane Daniels looked good within the context of
Yeah.
the environment he was at. That's good news, but it doesn't, I don't think, ultimately tell you much.
The only thing I read today that was interesting is that they're having McCaffrey line up on the outside a lot instead of in the slot.
It's early. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
They're going to try everyone everywhere. I
Yeah.
know. All right. Should we talk about the schedule that just came out?
Oh, the schedule.
Yeah. Yes. Another one of those, oh my gosh, everyone's freaking out over what is, a pretty normal thing, honestly, just the schedule.
Let's do, shall we?
Let us do it. All right. I'm going to just list the preseason games because who cares? Week 1 at New York Jets, week 2 at Miami, week 3 versus New England. The only one that's got a date is the home game versus New England on the 25th of August at 8
I'm kind of
p.m.
surprised that at Miami, they're willing to travel all the way to Miami.
Yeah.
For a
Well,
preseason
so
game.
the reasoning is they do play Baltimore in the season, and usually when you play a team in season, you don't play them in your preseason.
Yeah, I get it,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
mean,
Carolina also
the Falcons
on the
maybe,
schedule.
Anyway.
It's really a situation where I don't think there's any close teams that aren't on their schedule.
Oh,
when
they're
you
also
look at
playing the Falcons. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, like
That's true.
And they're playing the AFC North, so
and the Steelers, yeah. Yep. So I guess Tennessee, nope, they're on there.
And they played Tennessee as well.
Damn it. Indianapolis would have made sense.
Indianapolis, yeah, would have been one.
Would have been better than
Yeah.
Miami. But then you got to go to Indianapolis, and that's awful. Wouldn't you rather go to Miami?
Oh no.
The people of Indianapolis are going to rise up to smite you.
I will beat up 3 white guys named Carl. It's fine. Yeah, so preseason, whoop-de-doo. All right, let's talk about the real stuff. Regular season, week 1 at Tampa Bay on the 8th of September, 4:30 p.m. game on Fox.
Tell you what, why don't we go by quarter? Read weeks 1 through 4, and then we can.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, so week 1 at Tampa, week 2 versus New York, 1:00 Fox. Week 3 at Cincinnati on the 23rd. This is a Monday night game at 8:15 p.m. And week 4 at Arizona, September 29th, 4 p.m. game on Fox. So that's quarter 1.
I mean, it's a lot of away games.
It's a lot of early away games, and I always find it strange when they put a AFC NFC game like this as a primetime game. Honestly.
Well, yeah, a little bit, but Cincinnati.
Joe Burrow could be back. We don't know.
I guess. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange matchup.
It's a strange matchup for primetime, is my thing. Like,
it's
what
also
are your
early
big storylines? Like,
Jane Daniels is your storyline.
No, I understand that, but usually, like, the best storylines come from like Dan Quinn versus his old team in Atlanta or his old team in Dallas. That kind of thing.
Also, maybe why it's so early in the season too.
Maybe they're just trying to put both these teams on prime time and get it out of the way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opening with Tampa, not a bad deal, honestly. I think that's kind of an even matchup overall. I know Tampa made the playoffs last year, but they're not a juggernaut,
No, I mean, like a team like Washington's not going to have a big time week 1 matchup because let's be honest here and admit that Washington's fan base is very small, not nearly what it used to be because of the history we all know about. And so they're not going to highlight Washington in a big time week 1 matchup. So hence Washington at Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then New York, Arizona, they're there. Good for them.
Yes, it's a lot of travel, but not bad, not terrible matchups in the first quarter. They do have the opportunity to at least break even out of that.
And speaking of travel, because you just mentioned it, there was a thing that came out. I guess it was a graphic that came out online. Washington has the lowest amount of travel overall of any team in the league this year.
Yes,
which is interesting.
That's because of the AFC North.
Yeah, the flight to Arizona is their farthest trip, I believe, all season. So,
see the one thing I like about this first quarter is that they're not playing a single defense that's going to put tremendous amount of strain on that offensive line and on Jaden Daniels. I mean, Cincinnati, they have a good defense, but I don't think they have the kind of defense like Philly and all them. I think those first 4 games gives Jaden Daniels a chance to kind of get settled in, feel with the get the NFL speed and kind of see how the game goes before we get into Cleveland and Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
With those 2 defenses right there. I mean, they're some of the best defenses in the league right there.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to that. And I know you wanted to do quarters, but that week 5 and week 6 is a gauntlet kind of defenses. Dave is right.
Yeah.
Versus Cleveland on October 6th, and then at Baltimore on the 13th. Both are 1:00 games. That's going to be probably the hardest back-to-back that Jaden Daniels has all season, quite honestly. Though, who knows how good Cleveland will be with Deshaun Watson. Is he ever going to come back as, what he was, a creepy weirdo? Or is he just going to continue to be a mess? But Baltimore has got to be in a lot of people's top 3, top 5 teams at this point, right? Every year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially early in the season, I think Lamar will be healthy.
Yep. So that's going to be a tough 2-game stretch, and then luckily they followed up with Carolina at home on the 20th, 4:00 on CBS, and then Chicago at home on the 27th at 1 p.m. So. Carolina might be your cupcake there of the season. Chicago will be interesting just because you got the number 1, number 2 quarterback, of course, going head to head.
Now that is a game I'm surprised wasn't. If you're going to highlight a game on primetime, that would have been the one to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought for sure it would have, especially with that offense that Chicago has with Caleb Williams. And to be honest with you, if Caleb Williams doesn't win Rookie of the Year this year, it's almost, you can almost talk about him possibly being a bust in a way. That offense is insane out there. I'm only kidding about the bus part, but it's just that offense they have out there. And that's going to be a major concern for Washington right there. Because defensively, I think Chicago is okay. But yeah, I mean, I think Carolina's that game, probably that one cupcake. And for the first half of the year, unless you want to look at the Giants too, but I think that's probably the one game that they can probably get in there and probably handle pretty easily.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the first half of the schedule is a total gauntlet. It's really just there's two really tough games back to back.
Right.
I actually think it's a pretty decent first half of the.
I think it is too.
First half.
I think it's the whole schedule. Spoiler. I think is actually fairly decent for Washington this year. But
yeah, I do too. It's
first
a lot
half,
easier in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I think Arizona is a bit of a wild card because I'm offensively. I think they're primed to rebound pretty well, especially with having that receiver in there, Harrison Jr. I think with Connor being healthy going into the year, he's going to really take a load off of Murray and everything. It's just Arizona is a real wild card in that first half. I mean, they could very well be a very, very good team because they have a solid defense, or they could just be a team that just trips over themselves entirely. It's like one or the other with them.
Well, I mean, that's been their MO for 120 years.
That is true. Very, very true.
Yeah. All right. Week 9, New York Giants on the road, November 3rd. Closing the books on New York in the first half of the season. That surprised me just because usually they want to save, backload the conference games. Week 10 versus Pittsburgh on November 10th, 1 o'clock. Week 11 at Philadelphia, Thursday night game on Amazon Prime at 8:15. Yep. And then week 12 versus Dallas, November 24th, 1 o'clock. Now, Steve, why are we happy?
Because that is not Thanksgiving Day.
Praise
be to all things good and holy.
Now, I quickly had to Google what day is Thanksgiving because I did
too.
that week 12 versus Dallas on November. I was like, oh, no, not
That's
again.
the first. Dave sent a screenshot of this to us. That was the first thing I did was looked at the Thanksgiving. What date is Thanksgiving this year?
Yep.
Because we hate Thanksgiving Day games at the Hogstye.
It's become a mantra of sorts during the season.
Oh, man.
So we get to rough up Dallas before they have to play on Thanksgiving, which is nice. And we'll have an extended break before that, if you think about it, because we'll have that Thursday night game beforehand. So Washington comes into Dallas with extra rest. Dallas knows they have to play on Thanksgiving. So that could be favorable.
Right.
And since we have to have, there's 17 games, the week 13 Tennessee at home.
Yeah,
so
like this, say that's
quarter. So and that's before the bye week. Look, I think by this point in the season, we're going to know what this team is.
Sure.
It's hard to make a prediction now. I mean, Dallas and Philadelphia. At first glance, this seems like probably the hardest hardest part of the schedule, I would say maybe because it's at the Giants, which no matter how bad the Giants are, they always play Washington tough.
Yeah,
right.
It's in New York. I have a hard time believing Pittsburgh is going to stink again or even be mediocre. Then you got at Philadelphia.
Will Russell Wilson be their quarterback still by week 10 though? That'll be the question.
Who knows?
Yeah.
At Philadelphia and Dallas, obviously those are realistically probably losers, but we don't know.
Right.
In the
Titans are beatable, generally speaking.
Right. Especially with Derrick Henry out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, their whole team is rebuilt now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. All right, Steve mentioned week 14 is a bye week, so we won't worry about that. They won't lose, but they won't win.
Guaranteed non-loss.
Yes. Week 15 at New Orleans on December 15th, 1 o'clock. And then week 16 versus Philly on December 22nd. So no Christmas game either, which is another good bit of news.
Even we have refused to record on Christmas.
Yes. 17 and week 18, the times are not to be determined yet, or they're TBD. But the last two games are at home versus Atlanta, on the road at Dallas to close out the season. Those last 2 weeks are always flex weeks, folks. So, things might change. Dave may have to like come down to DC like on a weird day, a weird time, because they don't want to have a set schedule.
So this last quarter has the potential of actually being meaningful. If
Mhm.
Washington can hold it together, maybe they can't. We don't know. The idea of New Orleans 9-8 last year in contention for a playoff spot. Philadelphia and Dallas definitely in contention. Obviously both good teams. And so if Washington could hold it together and be decent.
And let's be honest, Atlanta with adding Kirk Cousins, they're going to be fighting for the playoffs probably.
Right.
Yeah. So this would be the other quarter that. Matter of fact, the whole second half of this season looks much more difficult than does the first half to me.
I agree that it looks more difficult. I like the bye week being kind of smack dab in the middle of that second half for that reason. There are, winnable games there, I think. But, backloading Dallas and Philly's going to just make it tougher no matter what for Washington. I guess New Orleans might be. We'll know by then if New Orleans or Atlanta are, which one is the one in the lead for the playoffs in that division. Because I don't think it'll be Carolina. Tampa was okay last year, but I think they'll regress. So we'll see.
We'll see the problem with New Orleans anyway. New Orleans has a very good defense, especially that front seven. They have, they get after the quarterback. They create turnovers. That game is not going to be anywhere near a walkover for Washington. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. When I go over the schedule like this, I'm seeing no more than 6 wins anyway to begin with. Anyway, to be honest with you, at first glance, especially after doing the last 2 articles about the offensive line, there is nothing inspiring about this group. The interior depth we'll talk about later is terrible. There's a couple bright spots. I get that, but injuries always happen. Who do you have? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but I just don't. And you're gonna have the growing pains of Jaden Daniels. It's going to happen. He's not gonna give you an MVP type season unless he can pull off a CJ Stroud type season. Some people think he can. I don't know. Maybe he could. But CJ Stroud also had an offensive line in front of him too.
Washington's offensive line's got to be one of the maybe it might have my vote for worse in the NFL. I haven't studied the rosters of all the teams, but it's got to be in contention for it.
I tell you what, Steve, I can't even argue against that. I really can.
No, I don't think anyone's gonna argue strongly against it. Even if we got an O-line junkie in here, they would probably say, "Yeah, they're not great." Yeah. So, on first glance though. And we're going to do our predictions, closer to the season. On first glance, I like the schedule. I'm a big believer. I want as many 1:00 games as possible. We have that.
That's just for your own self-interest.
Exactly. It's totally a selfish thing. It's also for Dave. To be fair, I want Dave to be able to get back and get home.
Well, what it really was about originally was that when we were recording post-game shows,
right.
It was really tough if it wasn't a 1:00 game.
Yeah. Right. Well, 4:00 was fine. Like we could do those 7:00 recordings. It was, hey, we got to start recording.
Even that was a bit much though, because you guys never understood everything I went through. To get, I did not like 4:00 games.
No, and none of us liked recording at midnight. So
no. We had some weird shows.
Yeah.
Hogstyle late night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
was all kind of exhausted. But no, it's all because I care about Dave. That's what it is. He's got a long drive.
Dave. I care about myself.
We all should care about a Dave somewhere in the world.
I mean, I do know like 15 Daves. I could be talking about a different Dave.
See, there you go. Trust me, Alex. Most people are always talking about the other Dave, never me anyway. So it's all good. I'm used to it.
Did you renewed your tickets?
Yeah.
Did you keep the same seat?
Yes.
Would you care to tell the people where generally your seat is?
Section 327, visitor side.
Okay. Club level. So you're a fancy dude.
He's got nice seats.
Yes, they are nice seats. I almost picked new seats over on the home side. They were front row, on the end too as well. I thought about switching over, but then I looked at it, the visitor tunnel was like the seats are here, then you have the aisle and then the visitors tunnel,
Mhm.
and then you have the field. But the problem with that is I always recall at every single game, you always have these fools that want to stand between those seats and the tunnel, just gabbing away, drinking away, watching the game when the person in the seats are forced to stand to watch the game. I'm like, you know what? I don't have to stand where I'm at now at all, ever.
Mhm.
So I'll stay where I'm at.
Yeah, that would annoy me greatly.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, stand when it's time to stand and cheer, and
Yes.
third downs, all that stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm not a stand all game guy either.
Right.
No.
In fact, the very first home game I went to, I sat down, I turned around, and because people introduced me, they were season ticket holder behind me, and said, "You don't have to worry about me. I don't stand the whole game long. I stay right there. I jump and cheer, and that's about it." I mean, not that my height would matter much
I was
anyway.
gonna
but
say you're
still.
4'10", so I mean it wouldn't really
I
matter
mean,
that
hey.
much. They might not notice you were standing.
But it was a thought, is what they appreciated.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Then you punched him.
Well, I do live in Philly. I got to bring a little of that with me, right?
I can't practice law in Maryland, so you're on your own if that happens.
Well, it wouldn't be on behalf of the show. It's fine. All right, we have 10 minutes left. Let's dive into the O-line breakdown we got to do. So, this is our roster reviews. We did outside tackles last time. We're doing inside linemen this time, right? So,
Yes.
this was also Dave who wrote this one up on our site.
Yes.
So, you will be able to find it up there. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dave.
All right. Well, we have another all-inspiring group here in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, it's not the same train wreck as it is on the tackles. But as far as like our projected stars, you have left guard Nick Allegretti, which we signed this year. Center Tyler Biadasz, I guess you would say. He's from now he's had a 4-year career out of Dallas, a 3-year starter from there. He's actually a pretty good center. I think he's probably the best center we would have had so far since Chase Roullier. Let me get back to Nick real quick. I'm sorry. He did have a 5 years experience, but primarily a left guard with only 13 career starts in those years. So, so he is a bit inexperienced. And then you have Sam Cosmi, who I thought was a fairly bright spot for the offensive line last year. He wasn't great, wasn't bad. I thought he was pretty good on the right guard side.
By Washington standards.
Yeah.
So. And I think we did see that guard is better suited to him than tackle was. I think that, if you needed to move him back to tackle in an emergency, I'm sure you could, but I think he's shown that his athleticism and all that makes him a better guard.
I just meant by Washington line standards, he's panned out because they've had a bunch of busts.
Sure. Well, he didn't poop himself.
Well, he did at tackle, but I mean, he found a way to wipe and clean up, and
Right.
The one thing I did mention here is that I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they had toyed with the idea of moving him back out the right tackle just because of the year that Wiley had last year. I know Cosmi wasn't that great a couple of years ago, but he wasn't the turnstile that Wiley was either. I mean,
could
Wiley
anything
was
be worse
brutal
than Andrew Wiley? Could anything possibly be worse than Andrew Wiley?
Oh, but Steve, your favorite website said that he's the most underrated player on the team.
PFF said that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, again, going to show PFF knows nothing. They're
don't.
So bad at
I respected that guy for coming on that time
we
had, but I mean, he faced the music, but I don't know. No thanks.
No, thank you. I will respectfully say you're wrong, PFF.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, as far as our depth, now we have Ricky Stromberg, obviously a second-year guy, third-round pick last year. He still has a lot to work on, a lot of development, especially with his feet and so forth. But the one thing that they did do well, I guess, is they brought in a guard/center in Michael Dieter, who's had a 5-year career. He's been split 15 games at left guard, 18 games at center. So you're thinking he's probably, even though he's listed as guard on his team. I think he's going to want to be more so your primary backup at center, especially if Ricky Stromberg's not ready to go this year. And the one thing, who's the name of our offensive line coach? It slips me. I
It's the
forget
guy
what his name.
from New York, the Giants last few years, right?
Yeah, I can't remember. See, this might be. We can go over these names, but the worst part of all this
Mm-hmm.
and the depth and the development that we have, I'm sorry, but we don't have we don't have the offensive line coach to develop these guys. This guy, I mean, this guy has not been
Bobby Johnson.
strong. Bobby Johnson, thank you.
Yeah.
Bobby Johnson has not been a strong offensive line coach. He was a head scratcher when he was signed this year. I mean, many people don't understand why, because he was with the Giants the last 2 years, and the Giants have had one of the worst offensive line units with draft capital, mind you.
Yeah.
He had draft capital on that line. They still had a bad line the last 2 years. So as we go through this, the lack of depth and experience, and we're expecting Bobby Johnson to flip the script, I don't see it. I don't see that happening.
So I'm just going to throw this out there since we're talking about some of the depth guys and maybe rotating people. Let's be honest, Nick Allegretti is probably the biggest wild card of the 3 starters on the inside. Tyler Biadasz he's been there for a while, at least in Dallas. His solid starter.
He's a proven commodity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sam Cosmi, proven enough at least. I wonder if Stromberg, do they maybe even try him at guard, see if he can move to, contribute there? Because I don't think they need the odds of him getting the center job is 0 at this point.
It's absolutely 0. Biadasz is the starter, Pierdotti, and they paid him way too much money.
Right. So Stromberg, I know it's not the same regime, but he was a 3rd round pick. Do you at least give him a shot at guard instead?
I mean, he'll get a shot in OTAs and stuff. Sure. Why wouldn't they? You know, they have him. To me, of the depth guys, I think Chris Paul would be the one that would stand out slightly more than the rest of these guys. I don't know who Michael Dieter is. Julian Good-Jones, who is that? Ricky Stromberg, I think the odds are against him. He'll get a shot, but Chris Paul would be the one that has played and looked like a legitimate NFL player at times.
Last staff's favorite for that job for a while. They really liked him.
Well, the one name that going through here is Mason Brooks. He's 24, 315 pounds, 6'6". When I was going through his scouting report, a lot of what he is first step off the snap in terms of engagement with his hands. He's very strong in his lower body, and he engages very well. He's got decent lateral movement and everything. His biggest problem that he will struggle with is maintaining his blocks at times, and he can kind of lose the coordination with his feet and kind of get a bit off balance. But that's stuff that's coachable. Not that we have the coach for it, in my opinion. But still, either way, he, I think, provides probably the most upside of the younger developmental guys we have. But you're talking about a depth guy that you might need early in the season. You don't want a developmental guy being that guy filling in. I think he's more of a long-term guy that could develop into something. I do like Mason Brooks from things I've read on him, but I mean, we just lack the experience at depth. It's actually pretty scary, to be honest with you.
If only maybe they'd drafted another lineman instead of a defensive tackle who needs surgery on both his feet.
Yeah, right. You said linemen, M-E-N, right? Not linemen.
Well, I should have said lineman,
multiple
I guess, to pluralize it.
They needed more than one.
Yes.
Yeah, they needed more than one.
Right.
But no, you're right, Alex. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, because Johnny Newton, we didn't mention that at the top of the show, already hurt.
He was never going to play anyway, so no loss. So in terms of interior offensive line, I mean, you have to think they've improved dramatically at center. So that's a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think Biadasz is, if that's how you pronounce his name, is probably an above average starting center. And he got he probably got more attention because he was with Dallas, but still. So Sam Cosmi, at league average starter. No idea about Nick Allegretti. But yeah, I mean the depth guys, who the heck knows?
Yeah. I think they maybe have two really at least decent ones from the last administration there, but even that's a low bar.
Yeah, it's not saying much.
Right.
Yeah, because when you look at your depth, you want guys like Chris Paul and Mason Brooks are good developmental guys for a long term. You want them at the bottom of your depth chart. But unfortunately, they're near the top of your depth chart on this thing. When you look at these names, it's just I don't know. Like I
You
say,
want
it's
to
scary.
what I want usually if I'm talking depth for the guy off the bench, I want a vet. I want somebody who's like
Yeah.
31, 32, started for a while, maybe in somewhere else, and now he's here for a year or two, just finishing up his career. That's who you want coming off your
Right.
bench
I
as your
think
first backup.
I think if the team had signed a guy who was 4'10", a lawyer with a bad knee, and an AV guy, they wouldn't lose too much compared to the bottom of this depth chart.
I saying we know nothing about O-line play. I feel like we could put together an O-line in an NFL free agency at least as bad as this O-line.
Yes. In all seriousness, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Because we would have just signed 2 or 3 big names and we'd be okay. Now we got something.
Sometimes
Yeah, I
think
get a
they
feeling we'll be
overthink
playing a
this.
lot of double tight this year.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
I mean, the good news is they did sign a tight end who can actually block, so that'll help.
There's one.
And play well. He plays H back, right? So like he can even do stuff on the inside here. Yeah, not a great start to the roster review.
No, but there's a reason I put some of these at the beginning too.
I know. And here's hoping they realize they need more help.
So how are they going to get it now?
Yeah, I don't know. Trades.
Now, granted, there are still some viable vets out there. I mean, they're not going to carry your offensive line starting wise, but at least you can get some depth out of there, proper depth anyway. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
So to wrap this up in a nice bow and then end the show, how many guys do you see them keeping interior wise?
Considering the fact that like Braden Daniels can play interior and interior and outside, I think you're going to see guys like your Laufenberg, Julian Good-Jones, guys like that. Maybe. Well, I think Dieter stayed because he has 5 years of experience, but I don't know. I think 3 of these guys probably won't be on this roster. I think you could see at least one of them, like either Chris Paul or not Chris Paul, Mason Brooks, getting like a taxi squad. Or your practice squad, rather.
So you see him keeping 6 interior linemen in the end?
I think I have it at 5. 1, 2, 3. No, I think about 5 with Mason Brooks getting. Oh, maybe 6 probably.
Okay.
I think they have no choice, really, to be honest with you. Because I mean, when you look at the tackle group, outside of their top 3. I mean, you're not looking at much else. You got Braden Daniels, and I think like another name or 2 after that, and that's about it. But at least you got those other guys that can play inside as well too, so they can move around.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they keep more than 5.
it's possible, yeah.
And they'll find a couple of these guys that can, like Mason Brooks. I actually have listed as a tackle technically on my chart. I do.
Okay.
He was a tackle, and he's a guy like he'll be able to in an emergency play both.
So he'll be that 4th string tackle guy.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's possible at least. I mean, he's a minimum salary player. He may not be there at all, but the point is, somebody like that will be able to fill in. You won't be able to easily categorize.
Okay. I mean, I think 5, but then that means you need to keep 4 tackles usually because you need 9 linemen.
Right.
At least, if not 10.
As bad as their tackles are, they need to keep, they need to keep 4 at least.
Yeah. All right. Well, that should wrap up today's show. Maybe we shouldn't do like the bad position groups at the end. so we don't end on a down note.
I'm telling you, I put some thought into this. Okay.
No. I mean, I'm saying in the show, like we should do it in the middle.
Oh,
instead
knock
of
those out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Into the counter.
I'm doing some programming right now.
We're producing live on the air.
Yes. All right, guys. We will talk to you all next week.
All right. Later, fellas.